And then
That's what I should have did.
yeah,
And then it lets you, okay, this expire in 7 days.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Been there.
Okay, hold on. Let me pull this up on my phone. Be there. Okay, I think we're good. Look, we're all jamming in here today.
Listen.
Hey. Okay, welcome to Boys and Brunch. This is the show where we expose everything going down on the timeline. And today we are talking about Cardi B taking back Offset, the first date question about your relationship with your parents, HBO's Lovecraft Country, and if we still love it, and Willow Smith's claim she and her brother Jaden have been shunned by the Black community. I'm Jarrod D. King, and I am joined by co-hosts Brandon Harris Williams and Marcus Haynes. Hello, fellas. How you doing?
I'm here.
Here.
How
What
are
Celie
you?
said, dear God, I'm here.
Oh, thanks.
Doing well, doing well. Hello, love at love_eternal. I see you up there. I see you waving at us. So what's going on with you guys? Brandon, what are you drinking today? What's new?
It's just some rum and orange juice. It's in a Christmas cup. I'm feeling a little Christmassy today. I don't know why.
I saw your tweet about the Christmas stuff.
Music, and I played some Christmas music. I did sad Christmas music, but I still played it. It's fine. How am I? I'm here. What's going on? Work is so I moved departments again at work. And I've been working from home this past week, but I'm like, yeah, I just want to go back into the office. I know I'm more productive there. I can focus a bit better. I don't like feeling like I live at work anymore. Like, let me just go back to the office. I'm over it. Gotcha. So that'll be happening soon for me. I have a part-time job. I'm probably gonna quit.
Why is that?
It's not really worth it. So
okay. Is it like too much on your plate, or is it you just?
I think it will be too much on my plate in a few weeks, but I think just as of right now, I don't think that it is helping me enough. So I'm like, I might as well just kind of.
Yeah, I feel like you said it, but what made you get a part-time job in the first place?
Just trying to, get a little bit more coinage, pay some things off, and do not or whatever. But yeah, I think working 7 days a week might not be the best because just in my schedule, my full time, I can only work on the weekends and my part time. So, I think I'm gonna pass on that. I'm gonna give them a couple more weeks to see, but I think it's about to be over.
Marcus, what are you drinking?
I am drinking pre-made margarita. I can't read the name, but whatever that says.
Yes.
But
and what's new?
Yeah. Stress. Stress, but I guess it's a good type of stress. This is a busy weekend for me. I'm booked at 2 conventions, and they're both busy. Too busy. They're both virtual, so I've been spending a lot of time like doing this, sitting in front of the screen, trying to keep spirits up and keep conversation going. Mm-hmm. So it's more tiring, I think, than I expected, but at the same time, it's kind of rewarding. It's good to see the stuff that you worked on kind of pay off and kind of pan out the way that you wanted to. But it doesn't make you any less tired when it's over.
Right. Now, what is more tiring? Because I know with the conventions, you're kind of behind the scenes at least, or at least for the one convention. I don't know about the FireCon. I don't know whether you've been in front of the screen, but is this more tiring than that, or are they kind of like equal levels of
training? You're talking about like being behind the screen and in front of it?
Yeah, or like those versus doing this show with us.
Oh no, the show is fun. Okay. I just get to talk, talk trash. But like, honestly, behind the scenes, and I think that's because I don't have no problem talking. I can run my mouth all day if need be. Okay. So being in front of the screen, and I was in front of the screen for FireCon. So being in front of the screen is cool. Like I'm just talking, but being behind the scenes, trying to make sure, conversation is flowing, people are where they need to be, people are learning stuff, engaging, all that type of stuff. That's more tiring.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I know when I was when I was doing the panels for you not too long ago, I remember I was like a little bit drained by the end of it. Not to say it was a bad panel, but because I enjoyed myself, but it was just like, it's a different level. It's a different kind of energy. It's a different kind of thing. You have to like, it's not laid back. You can't just talk about, you can't really just talk off the top of your head. You kind of have to present a professional almost appearance. And so it's a little bit different. I still enjoyed myself though. And I am drinking, I have a Chardonnay. And
is the bottle next to you?
It is, just in case.
See?
Yeah, and I don't know, this week, what have I been doing? I did an interview with someone, and I meant to get his and everything. I'll probably look at that while y'all are talking, and I can come back at the end and throw his name out there. And then I also was on Charles Warren's YouTube. So, our guest that we had a few weeks ago, talking about Big Brother yet again. So I enjoyed that. It's always a fun chat. But yeah, that's really what's been going on. Okay. So yeah. So all right. So to our viewers, if at any point you hear something you like, please heart it up, give us a like. I'll be watching the comments and doing my best to interact with you and shout you out. So let's jump into this first topic, y'all.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about Cardi B and Offset.
Oh, we're starting. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we're
starting there.
That's right.
So here, let's jump into it. Soon after filing for divorce, Cardi B took back her husband, Offset. This didn't sit well with a lot of fans. Offset has a history of cheating on Cardi B, and the most recent divorce filing had many thinking he'd done it again. A rumor that Offset had a baby on the way had even been sparked. Cardi B denied all of this. She said the breakup was because sometimes, quote, sometimes people really do grow apart. Sometimes you're just tired of the arguments and the buildup. You get tired sometimes, and before something happens, you leave. After Offset showered Cardi B with attention and gifts like a happy birthday billboard or an $8,000 car seat for their daughter, fans started claiming that this was manipulation and therefore abuse. So Cardi B fought back against that with a couple of tweets of her own, saying, quote, abusive, girl, I'm the one that does the hitting and the shit talking. Y'all be trying to analyze too much. We are just simply dysfunctional. Nobody can manipulate me to do shit. I have a choice. When I get tired of the dick, I'll leave. So let's start with Brandon. Let me just get your reactions to this. Let's start with general reactions, and I don't want to jump into the big question. But what are you thinking so far when you hear all this? What's going on in your head?
I think she summed it up for us, that they're dysfunctional, and I think it kind of starts and stops there. I think that I think there's a number of things. I think that fame and the internet, social media, the way it is now, is different. I think being on social media prior to getting famous, you kind of are used to telling all your business, so you don't really learn that kind of discretion, the kind of PR kind of a thing. I think her being a rapper, because rappers are able to be a bit more open than maybe other entertainers. I think the fact that she came from a reality show, they're also able to be a little bit more open and expressive online than other entertainers. I think all of that combined with the fact they both just are really immature. it's why we know all of their business. They might be good for each other at some point. I just think right now it's a lot of immaturity going on.
Okay. Marcus, anything to add to that?
I think that one of the things that, that folk love about Cardi B is that, she gonna tell you straight like it is, like however she feel. And this is just another example of that. Like, she just like, this is how I feel, this is what it is, this is, deal with it. On the one hand, I kind of feel like them people grown, let them, y'all do whatever y'all want to do, keep your foolishness over in your house. But on the other hand, I think there is that, like what Brandon was saying, like when you get to that celebrity status, particularly like the place where she at, because like Cardi is up there, people tend to have a lot more thoughts, I'm gonna say, about what you're doing. So that's those two things are kind of clashing. Like Cardi B's realness and the celebrity like analyzed, and it's like they ain't meshing.
Yeah. Do you guys think Offset is abusing Cardi B? Do you agree with that? I mean, because a lot of people have just
I do think it's manipulation, but I also don't even know though if it's intentional. Because I think that men are trash and men are taught to be trash. So some of that is taught as like, okay, I messed up. Let me shout my girl with gifts, get her back, but I'm not going to change. So I don't know if it's like a conscious thing of like, she can't leave me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm going to like continue to do wrong, or if it's like, I really want her, but I'm going to keep fucking up.
Right. Like it's a difference between like doing what you think you're supposed to be doing, like as far as like the shower and gifts with, and like straight up like grooming or like intention, like, oh no, let me do this so that she'll think this and like that type of deal.
Got you. Yeah, I'm seeing Love Eternal is saying it's dysfunctional and they're both manipulative. So I kind of tweeted about this last night, and I was just like, okay, I had some feelings because
what are your feelings, Jarrod? What are your feelings?
You said you were researching for like 2 hours on this.
I was researching, and I had to get my thoughts together because I wanted to be on point with what I was saying.
Okay.
So I wrote this thing out. So just go with me for a minute.
Lord, he wrote a piece.
I wrote a little something.
Okay, now are we singing this time?
No, we are not.
We're rapping, snapping.
Okay.
But I'll just read what I wrote, and hopefully it won't be too long. Feel free to jump in if if
we fall asleep,
if we know the song.
No. So initially I was annoyed with the conversation on Twitter because I feel most people who talk so authoritatively about serious issues like abuse know absolutely nothing. And there are no nuanced statements. No, it might be abuse, or this may be a sign of abuse. It's you are being abused. It's like they just jump straight to a statement. And I just seriously doubt all these people, one, have PhDs in psychology, and two, know everything that goes on in Cardi B's house. Case in point, her tweets about hitting Offset, and I'll get back there in a second. So could it be abuse? Yes, it could, but I doubt it's exactly how we see it. The definition of emotional abuse from the Counseling Center of the University of Illinois. Yes, I did my research.
Come on.
Because I don't want to, I don't want to like speak and like not know it and not state my sources, right? So is that,
come on, citations.
Quote, it can include anything from verbal abuse to constant criticism to more subtle tactics such as intimidation, manipulation, and refusal to ever be pleased. So I won't say it has to be all the time, but what you can infer from this is that there has to be some kind of a power dynamic in place. And Offset showering Cardi B with gifts from the standpoint of her being materialistic and not being able to get these things if he leaves doesn't convince me as an abuse tactic necessarily, because I feel like she could probably get all that stuff with her own money. She's a bigger celebrity.
Than he is.
Honestly.
So where I see the potential for abuse is Offset showering Cardi B with gifts as a public grand gesture that she better not refuse unless she wants the straight male hip hop fans and artists to sideline her, especially when we saw how quickly they doubted Meg Thee Stallion's story with Tory Lanez. So, and I'm just curious what you guys think about that point, because I could see that as being a manipulation, because that's probably the only place that I see Offset really having power is in a public thing, like kind of forcing her hand. You know what I'm saying? But even then, I think that's like, I don't know. That's the only. I think that's a little bit far fetched, but that's the only thing that I could see. So could it be abused? Yes, it could. And the crazy part is that by Cardi's own tweets about being the one hitting Offset, the only thing we know for sure is that she is the one that's being abusive. And, is he? Perhaps, but we don't know anything for sure. So that's my speech.
No, that's a good point, because like I think that it does that, the whole like public pressure to take the person back. I think that's real, because it reminds me of what people have said about, like public proposals. Like when you propose to somebody in public, like the pressure is on usually the woman, like to accept, because you don't want to shame the person. And, if you shame them, they can lash out.
Don't give in to that, girls. Don't do it.
I just keep thinking about the game, about Darren proposing to Melanie at that football game, and she said yes, and just said no behind the scenes. But
right.
But like in that kind of sense, then yeah, that is manipulation, because you're doing all this at like even the first time when they had a little falling out, he proposed at like the middle. I'm not proposed, but he did some stuff in the middle of a concert, and all like, oh, take him back. And we know nowadays celebrities are only as popular or as powerful as they stands. So if you turn the stands against somebody, yes, they done.
Yeah. I'm seeing, somebody's agreeing with me here. They say, in quote, "You knew what it was when you married him. How dare you leave because he didn't change?" Like that would be what people would say,
Yeah.
Or at least in one case. But go ahead, Brandon.
But is it like once a cheater, always a cheater? Do y'all think that?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's very possible. I think the chances are that it will happen again. I don't think that is always the case. Of course, I'm not speaking from any actual experience, so I don't know.
No, that makes sense.
I mean,
no, because just that statement. You do think they always are?
No, I don't know, because people can change. Like I think that people can change, but the likelihood of somebody changing,
I think they can. I think though that it is. You definitely have to like look at it. I think like it's always interesting to me when people cheat prior to the marriage and then you still get married. That's always interesting to me. But I think though, and hear me out, kind of follow me. Okay. I think sometimes infidelity actually can improve a relationship. I'm not saying to do it. I'm saying though that I think that typically cheating is like a symptom of like a lack of communication. There's a communication issue somewhere. Like you either can't communicate your needs emotionally, sexually, something like that happens. And so then if you cheat once, I'm saying, and then you finally like get to the root of like, this is what our issue was. Now we have better communication, whatever. I think that can improve it. An affair is different.
Yeah.
I think a one-time situation though can.
So it's like the cheating like forces y'all to deal with the issues that y'all have.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and that
not
that
recommended.
Yeah.
I'm saying I think sometimes it can happen that way.
Yeah, I feel like, at least for me, the only thing I would say is like if that is going to be the case, like the cheating brings the issues to the forefront. Like y'all got to actually work out the issues, because if you ain't working out the issues, you're just going to go back to cheating.
Absolutely that.
Yeah. Have you guys ever showered your potential dates or boyfriend with gifts, or have you been in the receiving end of that?
I haven't showered, but I've given gifts.
Okay. Well, I'm just curious. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm just curious what the does that feel a little bit manipulative, or does it depend on the situation, or because I feel like when we talk about gift giving as a manipulation, it's a little bit weird, because I don't know. What do y'all think? Don't even worry about what I'm trying to say.
Well, I wasn't giving gifts to make up for anything. Yeah. So there's that. But also, now there's a small petty part of me though, like when things go left. And it's like, and I didn't give you X, Y, and Z. I don't say these things. Like part of me thinks this like, and you out here acting like this, and I didn't did this for you, So
yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know, because now I'm thinking about how people say that you do these things expecting something in return. And I mean, oh Lord, I'm about to incriminate myself. Like you give gifts. You do. I must say it's I feel like a lot of people have done it before. You give something and it's like kind of you're thinking in the back of your mind like, oh, well, I did this for you, so maybe there's some sex later on. What happened.
Well, and that even comes in with like first dates. Like if I pay for the dinner, then you have to be,
I ain't gotta do shit.
I mean, that's true, but that's what most people mindset go though.
Child. We can do that.
It becomes transactional.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So that's a shame. But yeah, so I don't know if y'all saw, but there's a fly flying around here. So I just want y'all to do not let me go out like Mike Pence, okay? Let me know where it is. If it lands here or here, like just let me know and I'll get rid of it. I'm not trying to go out like that.
Mess.
So I'm gonna move into our next topic. There's this question that some people, I guess, would ask on a first date. So the tweet was first date question. What's your relationship like with your father? Can you pick up the phone and call him right now? Brandon?
Yeah.
Brandon,
I was listening.
No. I mean, that was it. So I'm coming to you. But I just thought it was funny because I saw your face.
No, I'm joking. Okay, so.
No, I'm getting Marcus first on the last couple ones. So yeah.
Oh Lord. Okay.
So reactions to that. Is that really a first date question?
No.
Okay. And why not?
One, it feels very invasive. Two, it feels a little bit manipulative. Like, why are you asking? Like, because I do think that you probably are asking to try to think you can do X, Y, and Z or whatever, like manipulation or something like that later on. I also think that there's a way to ask how things are with your family without being that direct or that blunt about it as well, though. Or I also think, too, sometimes that can just come later on. Like, that doesn't need to be a first date kind of a thing. Like, we're still getting to know each other. So even though if we can like have a meal or whatever together. So my family relationship might not even matter at the end of today.
Yeah.
Because you might not even want to see me again. You know what I'm saying? Like, or I might not want to see you again. So you worried about something that doesn't even have bearing on this yet.
Mm. So at what point do you think that that's something that would be worth asking or knowing? Is that a second date, third date, or is that deeper into the relationship?
I honestly think something like that comes up just kind of naturally, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think either dealing with holidays or birthdays, or you might be watching a TV show and it's like a complicated parent-child relationship, like something. I think like there are other ways for it to naturally, organically come up, and you can finally have that conversation. And it doesn't necessarily have to be early. My issue is, why are you asking? Mm-hmm. And then maybe we can figure out how you need to ask that.
Okay. Well, Marcus, what are your thoughts about that? Like, why would that person be asking? What are they trying to get at?
What I think they're trying to get at is they're trying to see what issues you have. Because like I'm assuming, you get me wrong, I'm assuming that's a gay bi pan dude asking the question. We don't know.
Perhaps. I don't know who the guy was, but I know a lot of us answered it. So
and I feel I feel like that's one of those things where like you're trying to see what type of issues you got before they get into any sort of situation. Because I'm not trying to make a generalizing statement, but I think that a thought process is that a lot of us have issues with our fathers, and a lot of times that causes baggage. That causes you be looking for a daddy figure. You got all this emotional trauma that you're bringing from from your relationship or whatever with or non-existent relationship with your daddy. So folks is like, okay, it's basically asking, okay, how crazy are you? Like, let me know now. And honestly, I really agree with Brandon. Like, that ain't no first date question. That ain't nothing that you just ask somebody. Like, because you wouldn't ask somebody straight up, how crazy are you? Like, you don't do that.
Exactly.
But I understand why they're asking that, and I understand what they're trying to get at. But there are so many better ways to do that.
Yeah. My thing is that it's not. I feel like you can kind of get the answer and not be so blunt about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, you can ask them about their family. Like, do you have sisters? Do you have brothers? What was it like growing up? And then you kind of read between the lines. You don't need to be like, what's your relationship with your father, and can you pick up the phone and call him? Like, I don't know.
What if you're in the hospital? What if he did? Now you look stupid.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. There's a certain delicacy that you have to treat a conversation, and that is not it.
Excuse me.
I have
there's something else that you said, Marcus, but go ahead, because I'll probably come back to them.
I have a devil's advocate question.
Okay.
Because we, a lot of times we've talked about, being blunt or being direct. I ain't gonna say being blunt, but being direct about what it is you want to know and saying like, okay, tell me this because this is what I want to know. So why is this necessarily different from just coming out and being like, okay, yeah, I want sex? Like, why is this different from being direct in that sort of way?
I think there's a difference though between being direct and being tactless.
Okay.
So like you can be direct and not, be rude, essentially. And I know because I don't have that answer. So I know there's a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can be direct, but you don't have to be off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think Brandon pretty much just summed that up. I'm like, that, like, and then on the other hand, it's like when you're talking about just a hookup or something, it's a little bit different than trying to get to know somebody and trying to have a relationship that is mutually like respectful, and like not to say that a hookup can't be a respectful meeting of two people, but
absolutely, yeah.
And I mean, I feel like it should be, but I feel like a lot of rules kind of fall to the wayside when it's just a hookup, but when you're in a relationship, and I think rightly so, when you're dating somebody, you have a few more things that you have
also
to,
too, it's like this, if this is a first date, sorry to cut you off though, but it's like, if this is a first date, this is more likely like a first meeting in person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, let's kind of slow down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you want me to see you again?
Like, honestly, like, I feel like that's one of those, it's the equivalent to me to be like, on the first day, be like, so how many kids do you want? Like, when do you want to get married? Like, whoa, you moving way too fast. Like, right. I don't even know your last name right now.
Okay.
Right. So, like, how would you guys answer this question?
I would not.
I'm just.
I would say, why do you want to know? Like, why are you asking?
See, I know me, and I would probably just answer it. Mm-hmm. And I probably wouldn't even get bothered by it, but I would not ask somebody that question straight out like that. But you know what? I don't know. It might be like a little marker, like, okay, where are we going with it? Because because I feel like if you're going to ask that question, there are going to be a few other instances within that date or within that conversation where the person shows himself to be a little bit, just a little bit too much. And I'm just like, I don't know, why are you looking for negatives on a date when, I mean, that's going to come out. Some of the negatives about some people are going to come out naturally, but I just feel like, why not look for what you like in a person? Why not see what you have in common? I mean, I feel like that's where you should be coming from. So I don't know. That's me.
Exactly.
I don't know. So is this important for you to know in another person, that what their relationship is like with their parents? I mean, I guess we should. Well, no, I guess we already did. We broke down what exactly they're looking for with that answer, kind of what relationship they have with their parents and how that speaks to who they are. But like, is that important for you to know?
I don't think early on, no. Because I think early on we're really trying to like see if we like literally get along with each other. I think the more you are together and probably even deeper into the actual relationship itself is when you kind of figure out like, okay, this is why you are the way you are. This is kind of what makes you tick and where that roots from. So yeah, that definitely for me is down the line.
Yeah, that's we've been dating for a while. We're exclusive and we're just having conversations like over dinner type question. Like, that's not anything that you bring up when you're still trying to get to know that person. Because while it could give you like an insight into why that person is the way that they are, like that's extremely personal for someone that you're just trying to get to know.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's part too. I said too, it's like if you kind of give it time, because like the holidays kind of fall around, maybe hopefully some point, like somebody's birthday will come around, maybe it'll be like Thanksgiving, Christmas, Father's Day. It's like there's other ways for it to come up. It's gonna be like, hey, I'm looking for my dad a Father's Day gift. What are you getting yours? Oh, I ain't getting that nigga shit. It's like, oh, okay, well let's explore that. Like, you know, like, since you open that door, you know,
let's talk.
All right. So I'd like to move into our next topic, actually.
Okay.
Lovecraft Country. So,
2 shots, like the video.
Okay, so based on Matt Ruff's novel of the same, and now I got this. I just copied and pasted this from the HBO Max website, just because I don't know how I can't do a synopsis. Because
that's
direct.
You can't get more better than that. It's HBO
right.
Max.
Come on, go better.
Like, as writers, I think we all know just how difficult a good synopsis is. So I'm just like, let me just copy and paste this on here, as I do not have time. So based on Matt Ruff's novel of the same name, Lovecraft Country follows Atticus Freeman as he meets up with his friend Letitia and his Uncle George to embark on a road trip across 1950s Jim Crow America in search of his missing father. This begins a struggle to survive and overcome both the racist terrors of white America and the terrifying monsters that could be ripped from a Lovecraft paperback. So I was blown away by the first episodes, as was just about everyone else. But as it continued, some opinions started to change. Many got even more engrossed while others started to fall off. So this time I'm going to start with Marcus. Where are you with this show now?
Are you all caught up? I want to ask that first.
Yeah, I'm caught up.
I am not.
Okay, so I'm glad you told us, so we don't.
Well, talk about it.
Yeah, because I don't.
Go ahead and talk.
There might be spoilers.
So yeah, everybody, spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
Lovecraft Country conversation, because we're gonna get into this. But go ahead, Marcus.
Okay. I'm at the point. I like some things. I appreciate what it's doing for Black people being able to investigate our history. I just wish that it went about some things a different way.
Okay.
Are we just doing general? Are we gonna go into detail later?
Take it wherever you need to go. We're gonna go from there.
There's just some stuff that I just, as a writer, there's some stuff that does not pay off. Like some stuff that does not make sense. Some stuff that just is poor writing. I'm gonna be honest. And then as a Black person, there's some stuff I just don't need. Like I don't need to sit here and watch somebody's grandma being burned alive. Like I don't need to see that. I don't need to see no white woman reenacting, especially, and I'm trying to get upset, especially as somebody from Mississippi. I don't need to see some white woman being killed like Emmett Till. And then hop back up and laughing.
And I just really didn't get what were we going for there?
So you saw they showed a white woman getting killed like Emmett Till? Is that what I'm hearing?
You heard correct.
Okay. I'm trying to understand. I didn't see it.
We saw it, and I'm still trying to understand myself.
And how graphic was the scene where they burned the grandmother?
Oh,
well,
it was
probably.
Go ahead.
Okay, I think I'm in the minority. That one didn't bother me. I get why people are bothered. Don't get me wrong, but I think it wasn't as graphic as maybe it could have been. You pretty much see her like engulfed in flames, but you don't necessarily see like rotting flesh or like anything like that kind of a thing.
Oh, you didn't know? I saw as her body started to turn black.
I need to go watch back. Maybe I need to go back and watch. Maybe I was distracted.
Now they panned to like behind her, but I saw her body start to turn black. And apologies to if we got white viewers, but I did not need to watch that. And then you cut to Tick beating up these extraordinarily racist white folk, and you're cutting away from them getting beat up. Like, so you're gonna show me this somebody grandma getting burnt alive, and like force me to sit here and watch her body turn black, and like the pieces of her body start to fall off. But when it comes time to beat these white folks' ass, you cut away from it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I not to necessarily speak to that, but I just know for me, I was a little bit turned off by I'm not a gory. I don't like gory stuff. And this show is very graphic, and I'm surprised I stuck through to like episode 4 or 5. I'm honestly completely surprised that stayed.
I mean, and I don't mind gore, honestly. Like I have friends that like cannot do gore, like period. And I don't mind gore. I think honestly, I don't like senseless brutality. I think that's why I am. Like I don't like senseless stuff. Because there's even been books that I've read, and you like where like you just have people just dying like every other page. And I feel like if you're doing this, there has to be a reason. And your reason can't be, oh, this is history.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna touch. Remind me of that point because I'm gonna touch on some stuff in a second. But Brandon, did you have anything to add? Well, actually, let me ask you this.
Okay.
There have been some issues raised about this show making light of Black pain for the sake of a horror show or a sci-fi show or something. Like, how do you feel about that statement?
I think I would need more. I'm unsure what they mean, because I think to me, horror is typically there's pain involved, typically. And if we say we want more Black people centered in horror, then I mean we would see Black pain. So I don't know specifically what they mean. Now, if they mean
let me clarify, because they were talking specifically about what we have gone through in the past, historical situations that were kind of just we're kind of raiding the tombs, so to speak, of our past and displaying it in a sensational type of in a sensational way for TV, for entertainment. So I don't know if that helps
a little bit. I think so. Maybe they're probably talking specifically to maybe this last episode with the Tulsa riots. I think probably the intention of the writers is to be educational, but you have to be very careful though that it still is in service of the story. And I'm not sure if everything that we saw was in service of the story. So it definitely did feel a bit gratuitous, like you're saying though, with her thing burning alive. While it wasn't as graphic to me, we didn't need to see it because they've been saying, I don't know, the past how many episodes, like the whole family dies in the house. Yeah. So we know they died. We can just see the house in flames. That's fine. Like we don't, we didn't need anything else besides that.
Honestly.
Yeah. So I'm hearing. Oh, go ahead.
No. I think that's essentially it, though. I think for me, I don't know. I think that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Feel free to interject if your thought comes back to you. Go ahead, Marcus.
I just want to just throw something in there. Like, as a person who enjoys horror, the scariest horror, the scariest like elements of horror are the things you don't see. So, throwing in this gratuitous stuff, like it actually, for me at least, kind of detracts from it a little bit because my imagination is way more horrifying, way more vivid than what you can show me on screen. Yeah. So if your idea is like, oh, I'm doing this because this is horror, like if you had Letty walk up to this house, tell them people, like interact with these people, she leave and she come back and the house is on fire. Like I'm going to visualize. I'm going to do the work for you. You ain't got to show it to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting because given the root of this, the Lovecraftian root of this story, and that Lovecraft actually, you couldn't. He had to write these weird, imaginative monsters that you couldn't really understand. So everybody had a different interpretation of what the monsters looked like. And so, it's just interesting to hear that now with this show that it's being a lot more explicit, but it's also a different medium. So I guess you kind of have to weigh that a little bit. But Brandon, were you going to say something?
I wasn't. I forgot.
I'm sorry. I keep stomping
you're
all
fine.
over your.
You're fine.
Well, but while you think about that, I I know as a fan of sci-fi, fantasy, and some horror that I think it's fair game if it's treated well. I know some people were upset at the Emmett Till funeral scene, I think because they were playing like Cruel Summer or something over the scene. How do you feel about that, Marcus? Was that something that people were kind of taking too far? Was it really not that big of a deal?
People have been upset about the music choices because like even all the way back in the first episode, they had like, oh, I got that lady name, but it was some modern artist.
Mm-hmm.
Their music was playing over like a scene where like the kids were playing in like the fire hydrant water,
Mm-hmm.
and they were upset like, this isn't, this is taking me out. Music choices don't bother me, especially because this is this is episode 9. I know they gonna mix in, modern music, older music, spoken words, speeches, like, if
Right.
that's your biggest takeaway, since you haven't been watching at this point. So that didn't really bother me. Honestly, up until they had that white woman being killed, like Emmett Till. I thought that they did a decent job until like representing that person. As representing him. So the funeral, having him as a character in the show, like that was cool. But it's just like, for what reason
Mm-hmm.
did you have this woman being killed like Emmett Till? Like what was why?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, to me, it's interesting though that he was even a character. Not to say that, like, of course, in Chicago at that time, we need to like, um, you can't not acknowledge him or acknowledge what
Mm-hmm.
happened. But I think it was very, very interesting to even have him recurring kind of a thing. I was like, this is very
Yeah.
interesting that we would even do that.
Like it reminded me a bit of these stories. I think of Fruitvale Station immediately. Of these stories where we know like how the story ends, but we are getting like we're humanizing this person. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're humanizing this person. We're showing them as a character. We're showing them interacting with other people. And from that aspect, I appreciate it because when we think of Emmett Till, a lot of times we just think of his murder. You don't think about the fact that this was a little boy who probably had friends, had fun, did these sorts of
Mm-hmm.
things. So I thought that was an interesting sort of take to kind of to humanize him, and we still have to reckon with the fact that this boy is going to be brutally murdered in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So here's what I have to say about this.
Yeah.
uh, so my wait, I'm trying to look at what I had written down because I want to make sure that I get. Okay. So first of all, I would have
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it more if it had been an anthology series with a new story every episode. Just the way that the show is set up.
Yeah.
I think we started here a little bit, or this is kind of a little bit of a through line with what we're talking about. That the overarching story is just not really present, or that's just kind of thrown in there. I
Mm-hmm.
feel
It's here.
like,
It's really here when they want it to be. It's really
right,
like, don't forget, this is what we're really focusing about, but we're gonna focus on something completely different for the next 50 minutes. But this
exactly.
is important, but we're gonna come back to that.
Exactly. And it's like, and I'm thinking it's almost as if they know that serial dramas are work better for have a bigger audience or something, but they really wanted this to be a procedural, so they just kind of threw like a little backstory in there. I don't know. It's just weird. Um, but I think what we keep talking about is why do they do certain things in this story? Like why are we seeing a lot of this gratuitous violence, or why are we seeing certain scenes um, that are just thrown in there that really don't have much of a point? And I feel like is that they're going for what I'm calling like emotional nuggets. These emotional, they're just trying to push buttons and not really tell a story. Um, and I think I even tweeted this. I said, like, there are some shows where it seems the creators and writers feel like they have to touch on all things to make the audience happy or to make up for what's missing in
Mm-hmm.
media today. And I said, specifically Black creators or creators of color. And I think that it ends up watering down the whole. Um, and my example for this was, and you may not agree, but my example for this was Pose, because that was another one that I felt like, at least season 2, where
was all over the place.
They sacrificed the main story for these little bits of emotional outbursts, for Twitter moments, or it's just and I don't know. What are y'all thinking about that? I would like, do you have any reaction to that, or Brandon?
Yeah, go ahead. Please go ahead.
To Pose or to television in general? What are we saying?
To
Black creators.
Let's talk about Pose. I want to talk about Pose because it's like they're doing the same thing, and that's why I quit these seasons so early. It's like, okay, so y'all are just screwing with me at this point. Ooh. Y'all are just trying to pull at my heartstrings, but my heartstrings are with the main story. So why are y'all going down the street? My heartstrings are over here. Don't go down there. Stay over here. You know what I'm saying?
I think, to me, Pose season 2 was very uneven. I think, for me, honestly, I would make the argument a bit more for season 1, where it was kind of trying to cover everything. I think because it was like the first thing we hadn't seen it. They know they were coming for season 2. Okay. So that's why it did a lot. But I enjoyed season 1. But to me, season 2, I was like, okay, well, now we know we got time to kind of tell this story. Like, we know we're probably gonna be renewed. Like, let's kind of slow it down a bit and kind of focus. And I felt like they were just kind of doing a little bit of everything. And I half of that I did not enjoy.
Okay. Well, then what do you feel about, well, I guess, and Marcus, jump in, but I guess about generally in TV, where they just kind of throw these things out there to kind of get a Twitter moment, or just to get people saying, oh, this was such a good moment. Oh, this was such a good moment. But the story is like, what are we doing?
I think it's the part of it is the nature of, of how we do media now. Like, we live for the trending topics, for the Twitter moments, because that's what gets people talking. That's what gets eyes on the show, movie, whatever, what have you. And that's what we kind of chasing. Okay. So thinking about what you said about the creators trying to touch on everything, I think that's a really good point, because I'm just going to speak specifically for like Black creators. Like, a lot of times we don't know when we're going to get another shot. So we're going to try to make as big of a mark as we possibly can with the shot that we have. And I get that. I understand that. I understand what motivates you to do that. But like you said, it works so much better when you have a directed focus. And I think Pose does fall under a lot of that sort of scrutiny. Is that the word I want? Whatever. Pose does kind of fall under that, because like, they talked about wanting to address, the issues that affect trans women. And I get that. I understand that. And it makes sense. But I think in trying to do that, they didn't know exactly how to do it. Because I maintain that killing off Candy was spoilers for Pose. Sorry, people.
Hello?
Killing off her was not the way to do that. And a large reason of that is because Candy wasn't given the space to make that really resonate the way I think they wanted it to.
Thank you.
And it hurts my heart to say that, because I love Angelica Ross. But she was not given the space to do what she needed, what she could have done, I'm gonna say, to really make that character resonate the way that it should have, for that storyline to fit. I think a lot of that also shows up in Lovecraft country. Like, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to say this, you want to show this thing, but you're not leading to that point. You're not getting us to where we can get that, where we can say that, where we can feel that. And I think about, ironically, something else that happened to another gender non-conforming person. Because the thing that pisses me off the most, really, about Lovecraft country is how they did the Two-Spirit character, Yahima. Like, you introduced this character.
About that too, yeah.
Even the creator, even Misha Green was like, yeah, I fucked up. Because you wanted to do this, because you felt like this was important. I think she said she wanted to talk about how the oppressed can become oppressors. Okay. Sis, one, you had kind of already done that with that character. In fact, you had done that with the daddy already. And two, that doesn't work if you don't put the writing behind making us care about it. You introduce Yahima. and you killed her off literally like 15 minutes later. Like, that's poor writing.
Because you don't feel anything for her. You're feeling like, fuck, now we're missing the piece that she's supposed to add. Not, I'm sorry that she's gone. I'm sorry that now we got to wait 3 more episodes for them to figure out something else to say this.
Right.
And even worse, like, they kind of just really glossed over that character because the immediate next episode, some way Tick was now able to translate the writing. So as a writer, I'm left to question, okay, so what even was her purpose? Right. Exactly. And for me, and I'm gonna stop after this. For me, it really irritates me even more because with this past episode, where we see so many things that happen in the dad is like Montrose's life, like so much heartbreaking stuff. You know, that man watched his first love get killed in front of his face, like, and knowing in the back of my mind that he murdered this this character a couple episodes ago, and there was never any real addressing of the fact that he murdered somebody just in cold blood. I can't. Now you're robbing me of being able to resonate or to connect with this person's story. And I know because Michael K. Williams is a great actor, and this was a really good storyline. I know that this would have been great, but there's this barrier because you have this stuff that you didn't address because you thought that it was just cute to just sprinkle in here.
Right. That makes sense. Right. I do wonder if part of it though, I'm sorry, is because television though there's so much television now. Seasons are so much shorter. I wonder if part of that too is it's like we got to give you everything, just like you said though, in case we don't get another shot, in case we don't come back for season 2. Like, but it's I hate it because it sacrifices story sometimes. Because honestly, the first half of this season, I was not sure what the hell we were doing. Yeah, like I watched the first episode and I was like, okay, I know what we're doing. The second episode came on and I was like, okay, I was wrong. And the third episode came and I'm still not following. Like, right. Because even the episode with what is her name? Was it Jiha? I think the Korean nurse. I really enjoyed the episode. I won't say loved. I really enjoyed the episode. But if we don't see her again, what did that have to do with it? Why did we waste 50 minutes?
All right, so I have to interject, guys, because we are talking way longer than I expected for. And I think
this could have been its own episode.
I think the audience is done with Lovecraft Country. They're like, okay, we won't watch. No, I'm just kidding. But
I always say, watch for yourself to make
it has. There are pluses and minuses, is what I'm going to say.
The actors are acting.
Yeah. So, that is true.
But I do want to get to our last topic. And hopefully we can get this done in 8 minutes. But if not, we'll just have to go over, and hopefully you guys will stick with us.
They will.
But
why would you not?
But Jaden and Willow Smith talk about. Yeah, we're back in the Smith's business yet again.
Another entanglement.
Yeah. Yeah. So in an episode of Red Table Talk on Facebook, Willow Smith said, quote, "With the African American community, I kind of felt like me and Jaden were shunned a little bit." She went on to say about the Black community, quote, "We're not going to take pride in them because they're too different. They're too weird." So does she have a point where they shunned? Marcus, let's start with you.
Yes, she does. Because I think that, we all saw it. Like when they popped up, they was like, "What's wrong with them kids? They mama and dad need to beat their ass. Like, what they doing?" And I think the only thing though is blanket statements are dangerous. While there were a lot of people who were kind of done with them, I'm certain that there were some people that were, some of us, were like here for it or what have you. So I think the problem is that it came across as a blanket statement. And whenever you do a blanket statement, people are always like, that's not true.
Brandon, what are your thoughts?
I think too, now I didn't see the full episode, but I at least from the article or this clip or whatever, it also is a blanket statement, kind of also, though it implies there hasn't been any change since then. Because I think now they both are pretty much embraced and accepted, and people are like, because I think also, though, as a society, we've changed a bit. I think though, to defend or explain, I think a bit of people shunning them. I think part of that is we had never seen, and honestly, since them have not seen Black kids be as free as the two of them are. Ooh. And I think that some of that is jealousy. Some of that is though a not understanding of how they could be. And they are that way though because of the money that they have, the access that they have, the resources that they have. It allows them to essentially live as two white kids.
Okay.
You know, which is not to deny their Blackness at all, but it is like they're able to show up in a way that most Black people are not able to.
That's the word.
Yeah. You know, I believe that I think that they were definitely shunned or sidelined a little bit by the Black community. I mean, I think what she said was true, and I mean, I think that her experience, you know, is something to listen to and to actually, you know, take in. Do I think that I don't think that it was taken so much as a blanket statement. It's just based on the tweets that I've seen. A lot of people seem to have agreed with her, but I do understand your point, Marcus, that, you know, a blanket statement, you're going to have people who are going to immediately combat that. So maybe there was a better way for her to word that. But yeah, I do think that they were a little bit shunned, but I wonder if you guys think that do we have the tendency to shun anything different? I mean, and I tend to think that we do. It takes us a while to get to a point where we're like, okay, this is cool. Because I remember growing up, you know, I want to say like riding a skateboard was like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And me and my friends, like me and my brother and you know, my friends, we were playing Tony Hawk on PS2, and we all wanted to ride skateboards and go to the skate park and all that stuff. And it was just, that's just what white guys do. That's not what we do. So there was always a little bit of that like weirdness. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it's that racism is just deep, and it's like in everything, literally. I think for a lot of people, anything outside of the norm of what we're used to is not necessarily different, but it's like this draws attention to you. I think that's kind of what the subconscious thinking of that is that it's like you're stepping out into something that we don't normally do. So now you have other eyes on you that aren't normally on you. This could bring another potential danger. So we kind of defend it by saying, that's weird, don't do that. But I think that's kind of what the thinking behind it, that we don't even realize the thinking behind that is. Like, because it's so ingrained.
Yeah. I mean, that's real. I feel like essentially like a lot of that, that's white stuff to do. That's fear. You know, like you're scared of, like you said, bringing this extra attention and, you know, putting yourself more into danger. And as kids, like I get that. I get where people would be like, oh, well, you know, I feel so bad, or I don't like hanging with the Black kids because they treat me weird. I mean, because I was the biggest nerd in existence as a kid. So I mean, I get that. I think for me, the problem becomes when you are at your big grown age and you still don't understand that the reason why, you know, folks did that was not because they was racist or they hated you because you was a nerd. That's not the reason why. Like, it's because, you know, this is almost a fear. It's almost this thing like you're doing something that could get you messed up. So we want to react negatively to it out of that fear.
Yeah, I'm also seeing a comment from Love Eternal. She's saying, you know, it's like gatekeeping. Older folks don't want you to stand out because it makes you look like a target. And I guess that brings me to my next question, which is like, do you think it's a good idea to allow your kids freedom of expression like Jada has, if you're a Black parent?
I think
let's throw that
I want to say yes. I think though that a lot of Black parents don't have the time to allow it. They don't have the resources to understand and or defend it. because while Jaden and Willow are still Black, they're also Black celebrity kids.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still a certain level of protection that they have. Because like Will is very white famous. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not just like Black people know him, like everybody knows Will. So there's still a certain level of like protection that they have that like my neighbor or my kids would not have.
Right.
Kind of a thing.
And I feel like that's another thing that kind of pops up with it is like people try to discredit people kind of discredit them because they're like, oh well, you know, you got money, you can afford to do this, which to an extent is kind of true, you know, like they got white money and they're good, you know, that in the ways that like we would not be. However, I think it is still important that, you know, we allow the kids like to be who they are. Because I think my parents like letting me be who I was, Naruto running down the apartment complex and stuff. Like that was a luxury that I think I was able to be afforded, but even at this layers, like I couldn't walk out here with no dress like Jaden was.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I may have been better off than say somebody who couldn't even do what I did. So I think that while we say yes, we can do that, we also got to realize like how much of that we can do. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you both. I think it's like, you know, it's generally a good thing to allow your kids to be free to express themselves and to figure out what life is all about for them, and to be their own people. But I think, you know, Will and Jada are so far removed from, you know, the real world that it's almost like a luxury that they can afford their kids to do it to the extent that they have. And I feel like there has to be some kind of a protection as a parent. And I don't, you know, I'm not a parent, so I don't know, but I just feel like there has to be some kind of a protection for your child for interacting with other people at the same level that you're at, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about that. Now, have you guys, I guess it's my last question, have you ever felt sidelined by the Black community or on the outside of it in certain aspects?
I don't think I have.
No.
No, I mean,
okay. So I guess I'll jump in first.
I'm thinking.
So okay, so I have a couple instances where it's just, I don't know. I guess maybe it's because of where I grew up. You know, I'm in Philly. I live in kind of like a suburban area of Philly, and I kind of grew up across the city line. So I'm like, I kind of grew up in the suburbs, and then kind of growing up and then getting into the city of Philadelphia where more Black kids were. I just don't have that same sensibility. I don't have the same mindset. And so, or I just behave a little bit differently. And so it's just a bit, and I think we talked about this a few episodes ago about how hard it is to find friends in the Black gay community. So in my instance, there's always been some kind of a barrier with that. I'm trying to think, what else was I thinking about as far as being silent? Oh, I guess also, um, sometimes with these big conversations that we have on Twitter, even, I'm just like, I can't comment on any of this because it's just like, I just have I have no awareness. I'm just like, so, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily with the Black community pushing me out, but there's still some kind of sometimes I feel that bit of a barrier, to relating to the larger Black community. But
I can see that. Yeah, I think I've had instances kind of like that on Twitter. Sometimes kind of like, I don't know what the hell y'all talking about, so I just go slide on to the next thing. But I don't think I've ever, like in person, felt that kind of a way. I don't think, but I absolutely can understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I think much of the same. Like even as nerdy as I was as a kid, like I still had, other black nerds that were, like my friends. And even from the gay aspect, like, it's Black gays. So like I didn't really have this sort of like this connection. But I do also think that that's a bit of a luxury They may come from, being in like really immersed in like large Black communities that, you can still find those people who you can connect with that, might not be a thing in other places.
Yeah, because I think too that's important. Like you said, the community at large, because it's like you will find similar people some kind of a way. It's kind of even going back to Will and Jada, or even I think celebrity kids or kids in the suburbs, kind of who are on the outskirts of Black community, whatever. In general, if you are around for them, if you're around, say maybe it was a bunch of white kids who were expressing themselves in different ways, then that's what they're used to as kids. So that's kind of their normal. Or if you are, sometimes people get mad at people who kind of date interracially. Sometimes though you date your social circle. So some of that is though you're dating the people that you're around. If you are in the suburbs or in a private school or, around kind of whatever. So it is always that whatever your sphere looks like is kind of the things you imitate. That's your norm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I believe that's all for our topics, and I'm sure our viewers are like, "Thank God." No. No.
Y'all know y'all love us.
Yeah, I know. We only ran over by a little bit, so y'all are good. I hope you're good. So if you enjoyed our conversation and you want to see more, it is absolutely necessary that you let us know. Whether that's a bunch of hearts on the live stream, a like and subscribe on YouTube, or a comment and a share, or even a review on our podcast channels.
Okay.
I have to write that in to make sure it sounds right, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, show some love.
Yeah.
And let's do our little final toast, everyone.
Did you refill?
No refill?
Yeah.
I feel like I heard you refill.
Oh,
I did.
And you did it with your other arm, didn't you?
I did. You saw me over here. I was like, yeah, but I did. The viewers didn't see that because I had them looking at Marcus. So surprise to y'all. So until next time, be careful what you say because the boys will brunch. Take care, everyone.